This is the Independent Dealer Podcast. Education by dealers for dealers. Now, here are your hosts, Luke Godwin and Jeff Watson.
Hello and welcome to the Independent Dealer Podcast, brought to you by Buckeye Risk Services.
Yeah, you got it right, Jeff. Way to go.
I've been practicing it all morning. So excited today, Luke. We're going to follow up on last week's episode. If you didn't listen to it, last week we talked about that mid-year checkup, right? You're kind of halfway through the year, get your financials done, get them dialed in, and then let's pull all those numbers apart and let's really see what we got going on, because there's a handful of like key metrics that all dealers need to be tracking, right?
Yeah, for sure. And the one thing that I have learned by consulting with dealers is that a lot of people don't track the things they need to be tracking. And so it makes it extra hard for me to try to fix a problem if I don't know where to start.
And
so,
if you don't have historical data, right? You're like, okay, I'm going to go back through and build out all these models to see where you've been and what you historically have been doing to see where you should be and where you should be going. So I know you like to track like 500 different metrics in your little spreadsheet jockey. But we got Luke narrowed down to 5. We're going to talk about the 5 most important. And within those 5, of course, there's little subcategories. So he'll find a way to get it back up to 500 by the time we're done with this podcast. So don't get overwhelmed. Focus on the main ones, and we'll point those out as we get to them. But there are a handful of key metrics that you need to know, because it's like you said, Luke, when you have a problem, well, I don't know what your problem is because I don't know what your metric is. Is it a sales problem? I don't know. Is it a lead problem? I don't know. Is it a conversion problem? I don't know. Like, what are those numbers?
Well, what's funny is every time I go on a consulting job, Jeff, the one thing they want to do is sell more cars.
Yeah.
And the one thing I typically find is they don't need to sell more cars. they need to fix problems. And so just by selling more cars, all it will do is create more problems typically, especially in the buy here, pay here space. But if we would track the right things, we can determine whether, we do need to sell more cars. Actually, we need to get better at collection. Actually, we need to get our cars to the line faster. There's all these little things that we can tweak in there to make your operation more efficient. And that's what we're looking for.
Let's get into it, guys. Get your pens out, your notebooks. First off, let's start at the beginning of the dealership, which is turn time, right? We're going to focus on what our turn time is. Pretty important in buy here, pay here. Crucial if you're a retail dealership.
Yeah. To me, I want to look at time to line.
Okay.
Not turn time, because turn time it's fine. But it could take you 90 days to get it to the front line, and then you sell it in 5 days. And you say, oh, I got a 5-day turn time. You got a 95-day turn time. And so we really need to talk about how long is it taking me from the time I raise my hand in the auction and go, hey, I want to buy that overpriced car from Manheim and pay an exorbitant fee, to the time it is sitting
arbitration denied.
Yeah, and getting denied in arbitration. And then what it takes to get it on my lot. That's what we want to track. And we can break that up.
You're not worried about how long it takes to sell after that, or do you track that separate and say, once it got to the front line, now how many days does it take me to sell it? Or why would I just track from auction to front line?
Because of
shop metric
for one, or just a logistics metric, or overall recon metric, because turn time is fine, and you need to track turn time. But if you get it to the line quick enough, you're going to make sure that you can price it good. You got what I'm saying there? Because the longer it takes you to get it to the line, the less gross profits you're going to make. If you understand what I'm saying there, Jeff.
I do. And I'd ask, in the technicalities of chasing time to line, your metric here is, 7-day, like less than 7 days, right? A week. If I buy it on a Friday sale, I want to have it on the front line by next Friday's sale.
Yeah.
Or by next Friday. What happens to the situations where I'm kind of stepping over dollars to pick up pennies, right? Like, I'm like, I got to get this thing to the front line. That means that I can't wait 3 days to ship a part from Rock Auto. I'm just going to buy it from the dealer.
Well, I think there are situations where that happens, but I also think you can get your car marketable sometimes without having it 100% ready too. So I want it marketable in that time. And if you determine that, hey, if I buy a set of tires from eBay that's $500, or I buy the same set of tires that's $1,500 from my local retailer, it's going to be best for me to pay the $500 and wait 4 days to get it. I'm okay with that. Go ahead and get it on the front line prior to that if you can, and then just put the tires on afterwards. So I think there's ways to work around that so that you aren't, stepping over dollars to pick up pennies.
Let me ask you a dumb question in that vein then. Here's the problem I have. And it happens even though my time to line is nowhere near that. I'm obviously way slower. But what happens is that unit gets to the front line or gets to my photographer, and there's still crap that isn't finished, right? Whether it's the tires are completely bald or whether the center console's torn because we haven't got the center console in yet. But it's like, oh, push it to the front. Let's get it photographed and on the website. Now the problem is the photographs that are on the website all have a torn center console.
Well, why can't we use AI to fix that photograph?
Well, I feel like that would be cheating. Because cheating. If someone does show up the next day and the center console's torn, they're going to be like, what the hell, man?
We'll put that on the Wii U and we'll put it on the Wii U and what's
not fixed. Yeah, I could go through and try to add those things. What if it's something bigger? Like it's got a cracked windshield. It doesn't have a hitch on yet. Whatever these things are that are left undone, they're getting merchandised that way. And then I worry that I'm not updating the photos when that, center console got fixed, or B, that customer has already completely written that car off in their brain. They've seen it in the listings and they're like, oh yeah, I looked at that one. It's got like a dead raccoon in the back seat. Like, I'm not interested.
Have you ever walked used cars at new car stores?
Yeah.
They are the worst recon cars on the planet, and they sell them every day. I mean, you walk around here in the lower price, let's call it 15,000 and under cars sitting on franchise stores lots. They're terrible. They're terrible. And they show up at the auction with the stickers still on it. And you can tell they came off the front line. They're dirty. Their tires are bald. The oil hasn't been changed. All these things. And they're selling hundreds of them every day. So take pictures that accentuate the positive of the cars. And if a customer gets there, just tell them, hey, you know what? We've already ordered the windshield. You be back here in next week and we'll put that windshield in for you. You got to, salespeople get paid a commission for a reason. It's because they got to sell, and you got to sell around problems. And, this comes to training from that. There are some things you can't put out for sale. Let's say it's got a leaking water pump or it's got a bad oil leak. Yeah, you're not going to get that one there. But let's do with the ones we can, get them there as fast as possible.
Yeah. Okay. I guess what I'm concerned with is, you get one chance to make a first impression. And if I'm posting my Ford Explorer with a faded hood, that customer's already like written that car off. Like, oh, that's got a faded hood. I'm not going to go look at it, and it's like, no, man, we actually got that hood painted the day after, but
updated pictures.
I put it online with a faded hood. Now nobody wants to look at it. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. I worry that it's like, wait till it's ready and make a good first impression when it hits the listing sites for someone who's in the market for that specific car, because you've already got it finished.
I do think you're right. There are times where you don't list them and there's times you do list them. Every one that you can get listed and it looks good in pictures, do it.
Yeah, interesting. I battle with that. So let's just narrow down that one more time. 7 days your goal, you would say, and the whole philosophy behind that is time is money. So similar to your turn time, right? Like you want to turn that car back into cash, but this is kind of that first step, which a lot of us, especially in Buy Here, Pay Here, like our recon center is our bottleneck, right? It's the shop, it's the detailers, it's our outside service if we're using it. I mean, I have, probably 3 to 4 weeks worth of work in my back lot at any one time. Like I've never been caught up, right? I've never in 20 years been able to take a car straight off the trailer and have it gone right into a bay.
Well, that shows me I got a lot more problems. I should be using, maybe some outside service departments to get me caught up. This time of the line, what it's going to do is show you blind spots in your dealership. And so if we can track it, and 7 days is fast, don't get me wrong. But we've been stuck when we were selling cars, we were stuck at 17 days for a long time. And did I accept it? Yeah, I ended up accepting that as my fate. But if we decided, hey, we can do this faster, if we start subbing some of that work out, we could have gotten it faster. I knew that our bottleneck forever was my body shop. Well, my dad was running my body shop. And then we decided, hey, you know what? We're going to start subbing things out. Well, then all of a sudden, instead of it taking us 10 days to get body work done, it started taking us 3 days to get body work done. So we started slimming those numbers down.
Yeah. It's kind of like when you have the just-in-time attitude, which mechanics just don't have, right? If you're service writer, your mechanics guys, they want to see weeks worth of work. They want to know that they have jobs and job security, quote unquote. But to run kind of in a just-in-time attitude where it's like, hey man, you know, if the transporter shows up today, we got cars to fix. If he doesn't show up today, like maybe we got to find something else. Like that would be a really weird mentality for me. Like I have never been there. I wouldn't even know what that's like to have an empty space. Like it's probably a good way to operate. I just can't wrap my brain around it.
Yeah. And you know, in the buy here, pay here space, and probably some in the retail space, you try to take on, if you have a service problem, you try to take on too much of your warranty work. You try to take on too much of heavy line work.
We can do it cheaper.
That's right. When it's really costing you money.
How is that? Let's just dive into that for a second. So if my all-in, say, you know, labor rate in my own shop, my cost is, let's just say $50 an hour. And if I send it to an outside shop, they're going to be charging me $80 to $100 an hour as a negotiated rate with them. Plus they want to do parts with a whatever 10, 20, 25% markup or something. Even my best outside shops, I'm paying, you know, not quite double, but pretty darn close. How do you justify those?
You justify it by getting your cars ready faster, your recon done faster, and you also justify it by taking care of that customer quicker, and not having the headache from the customer. You can sometimes you can send the warranty work to a really capable shop that is charging you 2.5 times more than what it would cost you, but they get to deal with that customer, and it actually makes it way better on your staff, and it doesn't clog your shop up. I think there's justification in that.
Do you think, you know, that's interesting because that's an opposite philosophy for me. If you are a buy here, pay here dealer, for me, it's my warranty work and my customers come to my shop because I know I'm going to push those to the very front and inventory takes a back seat. Our number one thing is customer cars. So if we have a customer issue, we typically try to bring them here because we want to get it handled quickly, get it handled cheaper. That's a weird philosophy to say, actually, it's better off if you outsource that, have them go to the shop, you know, a handful that you vetted and you trust, even if that shop has them 3 or 4 or 5 days out. That's a better philosophy to have your customer 5 days out plus you're paying more?
The 5 day out thing is probably a problem. Especially if the car's not running. If the car's not running, then okay, we may have a different philosophy. But if it's something that the car's still running and they can get in and out, I just think sometimes it's better to have the aggravations away from your dealership than it is to have them in your dealership.
I would love that. I mean, to that point, I would love to have a separate repair facility that handled all my customer work, my recon. It wasn't here and they're not sitting in my waiting room, you know, John at the service rider when I've got a sale happening, you know, 10 feet away from them. Definitely. Okay, let's move on from that. So we got the car out there, it's merchandise, it's on the line. Now we're talking about sales performance and our sales team. How do you break down if you have a sales problem? How do I find out where my problem is? Because I have a sales problem, right? I need to sell more cars.
Tracy Myers told me this years ago because I had the same philosophy. This is 20 years ago, probably. I'm not selling them cars. Well, Luke, how many leads do you have? Well, I don't know. Well, why don't you know that? Well, because you're not tracking. So you don't know if you have an advertising problem or a sales problem if you don't know what your lead count is. That's number one. We've got to know our lead count. You can even break the lead count down more by your source so you can help control your advertising. But then we got to go leads, credit apps submitted, credit apps approved, appointments set, show rate, and then how many are we selling per show? And these are all basic numbers that we've all been talking about. You and I have talked about it so many times. It's typically, from appointment sets to appointment shows 50%, and from car sold to appointment shows about 50%, maybe even higher, 75% sometimes. So these are all things that you got to break down, but you got to have these numbers if I'm coming in to look at your dealership, because if you don't, I'm flying blind.
Well, okay, so you glossed over that there, but the standard, the metric, if we were just to use easy numbers, is it basically 50% like applications to buy here, pay here approval?
It's going
I'm
to
about
probably
50%.
probably 40 to 50% is close.
Okay.
And it depends on how. Some people are going to say, well, I approve every application, which is not a great philosophy in buy here, pay here. But some people say that.
Well,
go ahead.
Well, I guess let me back up even let's go a step before that. I'm talking like leads to application. Like how many leads do I get in? How many of those people should I actually be getting to engage with me and fill out some sort of an application? Or if I'm a retail lot, try to get that appointment set, get them in.
Yeah. A lot of people send leads and don't reply, right? Everybody knows that.
A ton. I mean, we get so many leads from our Facebook funnel, and
and it's probably 30 to 40% of the people that submit leads that actually answer.
Okay.
Then there's going to be
30 to 40% is a good metric of leads to responses. And does that include like an application if it's a buy here, pay here?
Not typically.
Okay.
So then it's another, probably another half of that will actually fill out an application. Now, we've kind of dialed it in a little bit better now with different lead strategies that sometimes a lot of leads are now just applications immediately. And then it's amazing, Jeff, how many people in the buy here, pay here space, and maybe even the retail space, that will fill out an application and never get them on the phone. That happens a lot too. So, you probably want to divide all those up, that with total leads, then applications from leads, and then work that down the funnel as well. But in general, leads, about 30 to 40% are going to respond, and then about half of those will fill out an application.
So that'd be like 15% of your leads you're getting an application for. If you're saying 30%, then half of those.
Let's call it 15 to 25%.
Okay. That's probably about in line with what I see with mine. As I'm looking at my scorecard right here, my team does about 25 to 30% of the leads actually get scored inside of Neo for me, which means an application, right? So 25 to 30% of those are getting scored. Now, out of that, I'm getting about a 50% close rate on those scored leads. So if I can get them scored, I get about half of them to actually follow through with a purchase on average. I mean, that's blended between my buy here, pay here and my retail stuff. So some of those numbers get a little skewed. But does that sound like I'm in line? Because I feel like I'm way low.
I think with subprime customers, you're about right.
Okay. And would that be better for retail? Like if I was a straight retail lot, should I have a higher appointment closing ratio?
I think you should, because what you'll find is better qualified consumers don't submit applications and just for the heck of it.
Okay. So if I'm a retail lot only listening to this and I'm getting someone to actually engage with me, and if they actually did an application over the phone to get approved with financing with, my banks, those are pretty solid. Like if someone's gotten to that point in the retail world, the car comes first, the financing comes second. In the buy here, pay here world, obviously financing first, car second. So for sure, I guess those metrics would be kind of flipped.
Yes. Subprime people will click on anything thinking they'll get approved.
Interesting. Okay. So, I think that's good. Let's talk about your number 3, total gross per retail unit. How do you break that down?
What do you mean how we break it down? It's what we got in the car compared to what we sell it. That's the gross.
Okay. But you're worried about both front end and back end, right?
Yes, I am. Yeah, I am. For a good reason, right? And you can track it total, whatever you want to do. But front end is sales price minus cost, right? Back end gross, we're talking about GAAP, we're talking about BSC, we're talking about wheel and tire. We're talking about etching, all those type things that'll go into that back end gross and reserve on the interest rate in a retail store.
Mm-hmm. So who's ultimately responsible, or say your grosses are off from what you think they should be? And again, that's going to be probably historical based on your business model, maybe based on your market. Obviously when I compare my grosses to yours, or my gross to some of our dealer buddies that are in like downtown Atlanta, they have a really, really high gross on their buy here, pay here stuff, right? So they're making 5, 6, sometimes $7,000 front end grosses on buy here, pay here.
No, they're
And
not. That's play money.
Yeah, exactly. So we've talked about that before. We know that's not collectible, right? Or
Yeah.
maybe not collectible. I get it, but that's their business model.
Yeah.
So this is one of those metrics that I have a really hard time with because it's not always apples to apples. When people say, "Oh, well, I've got this $5,000 gross," and it's like, "Well, yeah, how much of that are you collecting?"
Yeah, I do think that buy here, pay here, tracking this is a little different. You need to look at your historical numbers and your charge off numbers to come up with the right number for you. So it's still something you need to track because it matters. But you need to be very aware of your business model compared to someone else's business model. If you go to a convention and somebody says, "Well, I got a $4,500 gross," and you go, "Oh, I need to get my number at $4,500." Well, I'll tell you, no, that's not right. You need to figure out your business model and what your charge off is compared to their charge off rate. There's all kinds of things that go into that. But in retail is different. You need to know and be very aware of what your gross is, front and back, and who should be tracking it. Well, the front end gross should be tracked by your sales manager, and your back end gross needs to be tracked by your F&I manager, and they need to be in harmony. And your buyer needs to be in harmony too.
So what confuses me sometimes on the retail side with these guys is, when I compete against some of these other dealers in my area for these retail units, I know what they're paying for them, right? In specific, the recent Tesla rush to get these tax credit cars out. So there's one specific guy that's up in northern Utah, and he sells a lot of them, and I am bidding against him on every single one. So I know it's what he's paying for them. And after fees and transport, and heaven forbid he has to put a freaking air freshener in it, there's no money to be made. Like, I don't get it. So how are these guys doing that when they make $500 or $1,000 on a front end gross?
I think there's a lot of
hopefully selling another $1,000 or $1,500 on some back end warranties.
There's a lot of retail dealers out there doing that, Jeff. And they're making more than, their front end gross may be 1,000, their back end gross may be 2,500, and then they're hoping for the trade in that can really move the needle. I don't know if it's sustainable. It was sustainable before COVID to a point, and then COVID changed things, and now we're kind of going back there. I don't like the business model, but it works in franchise stores. It works. So.
Is that because it becomes a velocity game?
For sure.
You say, hey, I can do that. I can do those low grosses, but I got to have 100 cars. I can't do it on 50 because my overhead, the cost of just having the lights on, I don't even break even till 50 cars.
I think that is a hamster wheel I do not want to run on. Yeah, I think there's a bunch of dealers that do that, CAC model, things like that. They can get to that. And the problem is when you have 2 bad months in a row where you don't hit that 50 number, you might be out of business. I think a really good model is about a 50% of your gross being front end, 50% of your gross being back end. And let's try to hit $1,800, $1,800 on the front, $1,800 on the back, or thereabouts, $1,600 here, $1,800 there, something like that is a really, really good business model, I think.
Yeah. And this is a whole nother metric that we won't talk about today, but I think it is important and a smart one to do mid-year is to look at what your fixed costs are. What are your fixed overhead costs to sell a car? And that's really, really important. If you say, hey, I'm averaging 50 cars a month and my fixed overhead is $1,000 per car, plus I now have a variable based on, my commission and maybe some other little areas you might put in your variable costs. But all in, it's costing me $1,300 to sell a car. Well, I got a real problem if I'm only making $1,000 on this thing, right?
Yeah, that was one of the metrics I was going to put in here, but I thought something else was a little more important. But it goes along with this knowing your gross, because if you know your gross, you know your fixed expenses, then you should be able to work this out and know where you need to be.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on now. We talked about the back end part of it a little bit in the gross profits, but you think tracking specifically and more in depth, you've got it as its own category as back end products. Why are you making it so important?
Because it is that important, right? For one, how many reinsurance companies, do dealers have out there? And, Buckeye is definitely a sponsor of the podcast. And this is such an important part of your business model that people overlook all the time. But selling the VSC for a retail dealer, like we just talked about, is huge, right? But for the buy here, pay here dealer, it makes your accounts perform. So it's leading to something else. Gap's super profitable for retail dealers. It helps protect your portfolio in the buy here, pay here space. And it's extra profit, right? And typically, if you've got a gap claim, you're going to be able to sell them another car, right? So all these things go into that. And then CPI on the buy here, pay here side is just so freaking profitable. And as we've talked about, there's plenty of dealers out there who buy here, pay here dealers that don't make any money in the buy here, pay here space, but man, they make a lot of money in CPI. And that's a business model. So you've got to know these penetrations, for one, to help train your sales staff as well. There's so many things that go into these penetration numbers on these aftermarket products.
So let me ask you an overall philosophy on that, because we know in the retail world, it's 100% of product 100% of the time, right? Like the F&I guy, when you get him in the room, you are trying to sell every product that you guys have on your menu, right? Because it's crucial to keep the doors open. On a buy here, pay here side, sometimes we don't care, right? Hey, we're giving them a free 12-month, 12,000-mile warranty. We have a debt forgiveness plan that's free. We have, free loaner cars. We have all these value add that we use as our selling proposition, right? I felt worked really well back in the day when I could mark my car up cost times 2 plus 1,000. I had a lot of room to add all those free fringe like benefits into the price of the car. Now that I'm getting beat up so much on cost of car, affordability, just trying to keep their, just trying to be attractive in the market. I go back and forth on this idea of being more a buy here, pay here that runs more in like the Southwest Airlines model, right? I'm going to be an attractive rate up front, but I'm taking all this stuff off my value prop that's free. It's all now added. I'm gonna a la carte the warranty, the gap, the VIN etching, the key replacement, the loaner cars, the VIP service program here in our shop, like making that a separate back end product that I can sell. Do you think that's going to kill? Like if I don't offer all those things for free, you think I'm going to lose customers? Or do you think they're fine if I just tack them on the back end and they're all going to say yes anyways?
They're all going to say yes anyway. It's about affordability. And a lot of people think buy here, pay here buyers are just, I'll pay anything for the car. They were like that 15 to 20 years ago. That's model's changed. And so being able to price the car reasonably and sell these products gives the buyer a feeling like they're at a franchise store. They're trying to buy a car, right? Instead of just getting fleeced out of their money. It's a mindset, I believe. And they're just so important. Every single customer you have as a buy here, pay here customer knows what gap is. You know why? Because they know the experience of their family member totaling a car and owing way more than it's worth, and it goes on their credit. They probably even know the experience. And so when you sell it to them, they're going to buy it. So why give it to them?
Yeah, I definitely wonder if you guys are folks that are listening, if you are still listening, hit message us somewhere on Facebook or this, or email me or whatever. If you're doing a similar model, I'd love to talk to you and pick your brain, because I've really battled with this and going all in and just saying, I'm going to kind of flip the script on the value proposition here, and stop giving away so much stuff for free up front, because I don't know that they really care. I don't know that buyers aren't really coming in because they get this free warranty. They're not really coming in because I have a gap forgiveness program that I give you for free. Like, I don't think they care up front.
Ask your customer, the next one that buys, did they know about any of that before they bought? And I'd be willing to bet you the answer is no.
Yeah, I mean, it's all over my marketing material. It's sitting everywhere. Free loaner cars if you're in for a service repair. Like, you're right. They probably don't care. They looked at the price of the car first. They calculated their monthly payment based on that, or what they think their monthly payment would be. So if I can add all those things on the back end and keep their monthly payment basically the same, because think about it, I put a warranty on it. Now I can extend my term, right? Because I can do whatever I want.
Yep.
And it's all basically, let's say phony money on the back end anyways, whether I collect it or not.
But it's all going in your reinsurance company. Just so
yeah. Anyways, reach out to me. I'd love to get someone's input that's actually doing this, has some experience in it. And what is the penetration? Because again, if you're going to move all your buy here, pay here profits off the front end gross, you better be getting it on the back end gross, right?
Yeah, and you need to be at 70% or
yeah.
You'll almost be 100% gap penetration, almost. But your vehicle service contract needs to be 50 to 70%, in my opinion. CPI, man, if you can get that thing to 40%, the money is just, it's great.
I'm getting close. I think I'm at like 30 something percent, 33% right now on my CPI,
that's great.
I mean, it's great. And great. Especially this time of year where you finally pull up the financial reports because your accountants ask, like, hey, can you send me your reinsurance reports? And I'm like, I don't even know where to freaking find those, because I just put that money over to Buckeye and I forget about it. I act like it's not there. And then all of a sudden, every 6 or 12 months, I have to pull it up and I'm like, oh, crap,
yeah, that's great. Yeah,
I should do something with that.
That's right.
Okay, let's wrap this up, Luke. Number 5, cash flow. Obviously, the lifeblood of the business, right?
Yeah.
And buy here, pay here, and retail.
Yep. Contracts in transit and retail, you got to have a real good handle on those. You got to get them paid as soon as possible, for many reasons. You got to get them titled and paid. If not, you may be buying it back. So make sure it's done. Keeps the cash flow going. Cash flow in the buy here, pay here business, you can sell yourself out of business real fast. So make sure you know that number of what's coming in and what you can sell.
Yeah, and that's where obviously we talk about Blytzpay being so great because of the automatic payments, the credit card, the text to pay, it makes getting that cash easier. You want to reduce all barriers to get the cash. That applies to buy here, pay here customers through Blytzpay. I would say, I mean, it applies to my vendors too, right? Like, I recently ran into some snafu with Westlake and not getting my deals funded because the way our state has changed the licensing. I don't get a printout that shows them as the lien holder anymore when my title girl goes in and takes the titles in. So all of a sudden, I'm not getting funded because Westlake's like, well, we don't know if we were recorded as lien holder. So we had a bottleneck and we got clogged up on 3 or 4 deals, $75,000, kind of a big deal for me, right? Like,
yeah, that's a big deal.
Sitting out for almost 25 days and I'm panicking and like, we got to figure this out. Like, I gotta get a way to prove to Westlake that they're recorded as lien holder so I can get these things funded. So anyways, jump through a bunch of hoops and we have a new system in the dealership, right? Because it is that important. You track that. That's got to be a daily report that you're looking at, or what are my contracts in transit? Who owes me money?
Yeah, sure. And it's all about cash flow. You can be unprofitable, but cash flow positive and stay in business. You cannot be cash flow negative and making money and stay in business. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah. Yeah, you are done for, especially on the buy here, pay here side, because we know that it takes time for those receivables to turn back into cash, right? You're slower. This is we talk about it all the time. Like, people are like, what does it really take? I mean, 50 buy here, pay here deals a month, and your average cash in deal is $80,000. You're putting $8,000 on the road with every deal. That's about my average right now. So for me to do 50 deals, I got to have what, $400,000?
Yeah,
every month.
Not even counting paying everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't even include payroll and overhead.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So, Luke, anything else as we wrap up?
Just stay on top of things, guys and gals out there. Just start with tracking something simple. And once you get comfortable with that, move to tracking something else. If you got any questions from me or Jeff about what we should track, reach out to us because we can help. We can get you started. And once you get started, this kind of becomes a game and it's fun. So stay engaged. Make sure you check us out on YouTube. Make sure you check us out on Apple or Spotify. Like us. Do all that good stuff, Jeff.
I like the promos there.
Yeah.
And to throw this out too, I mentioned my scorecard that I have together. It's basically just, what have I got here? 15 different metrics. And each of my managers is responsible for about 2 to 3 different metrics that they report every single week. So all these things we talked about, like, our time to line, our average recon, our average goodwill, our leads scored, leads delivered. So each department head is responsible to get those into the scorecard by Monday morning. And that really is a way that I'm delegating getting those numbers so that we can look at them and track them. And we go over them every single week in our management meeting on Monday morning. So if you guys don't want to build your own spreadsheet, I've got one I can share with you. Luke's got one also that he can share with you just to give you the basics of what a simple scorecard looks like for your team. And then, of course, I have a whole bunch of other ones that I track monthly and quarterly and stuff that are more in depth, numbers that I don't, kind of put out to everybody. But this scorecard is accessible by everyone in the dealership. Everyone on the team can see it. So if you want that, email us, info@theindependentdealer.com. We'll send this one. Luke's out. Right, Luke?
Yeah.
Cool.
We'll get you set up.
Okay, guys. That's it. We'll talk to you next week.
See you, bud.
Thank you for listening. Please leave us a review. We'll catch you in the next episode.